Happy New Year, everyone. 2018 is upon us, and that means we're going to have some great movies this year. To be honest, I'm not as excited for this year as I was for last year, but last year was a pretty great year for movies. And of course, I have 10 films that I'm very much looking forward to, and some honorable mentions. So let's get started with some honorable mentions. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the honorable mentions, not all of them, but yeah. So first of all, we have Mowgli, which is directed and stars Andy Serkis, and it's basically another version of the Jungle Book story. But instead of going for the old CGI method that Jon Favreau went for a couple years ago, they are going to do all motion capture pretty much. And of course, that makes a lot of sense because it's Andy Serkis and he's the king of motion capture. Along with Andy Serkis, we have a brilliant cast of Christian Bale, Cate Blanchett, Naomi Harris, and Benedict Cumberbatch. Yes. Next up, we have Ocean's 8, again another film with Cate Blanchett. I'm only excited because I really like Cate Blanchett, and hopefully we get to see some cameos from the first 3 films, maybe Brad Pitt or Matt Damon or someone like that, because apparently George Clooney's meant to be dead in this world now, I'm not sure. But yeah, also next up is X-Men Dark Phoenix. At first I was not excited for this film at all, but then some of the stills came out and they look great. I mean, Sophie Turner and Jennifer Lawrence and Jessica Chastain all look great. James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender, 2 of my favorite actors, are coming back, so I'm just beyond excited for this film now. After that, I have Pacific Rim Uprising. Even though Guillermo del Toro is not coming back, I'm still excited to see some of the action, and I love John Boyega, so yeah, there we go. Alita Battle Angel, which is the new film by Robert Rodriguez. He hasn't made a film in a while, but it's produced by James Cameron, and it has Christoph Waltz, Jennifer Connelly, and Mahershala Ali. So yeah, that gets me really excited. Also, it just looks visually really great, and it looks like what Ghost in the Shell could have been and what Ghost in the Shell should have been. My last honorable mention is Solo, a Star Wars story. I feel like I should be a lot more excited for this film. Just look at the cast, Alden Ehrenreich and Donald Glover and Woody Harrelson, Emilia Clarke, and I think Paul Bettany's in this as well. And obviously Ron Howard's a great director, but I think the main thing that got me really excited for this film was Phil Lord and Chris Miller. They're not around anymore. I'm still excited, just not that excited. So yeah, anyway, let's get on to number 10. A Quiet Place was a film that I had no idea existed. I didn't really care about when the trailer came out about 2-3 weeks ago. But I saw the trailer recently because it kept coming up on my YouTube feed, and my god, I have to say I am intrigued. This is a horror film. It looks like sort of a horror thriller, and those who know me know that I do not like watching horror. I barely made it through Get Out and It. But it does star John Krasinski and Emily Blunt, and they're like a real life couple. And basically they play a family living in this somewhat post-apocalyptic world, and they're not allowed to speak. They have to communicate within their family in sign language, because if they make any noise, these like creature monster things are going to come hunt them down. And that just seems like such an interesting premise. Again, I can't really explain it well enough, so you have to watch the trailer. But it is directed by John Krasinski, and the cast looks great. And it's just the concept that's so intriguing. And if it's as good as I think it could be, we could definitely have another It or another Get Out or another Split on our hands here. So yeah, I'm very excited to see that. On to number 9. Sicario 2 Soldado. I love the first Sicario. If you know me, then you know how much I love Denis Villeneuve. When I heard there was going to be a sequel, I didn't really know what to think, because I'm pretty sure, Denis is not coming back, Roger Deakins is not coming back. However, we do have a great cast here. Benicio del Toro and Josh Brolin are both back. Emily Blunt is not. And we also have a new director, obviously, whose work I've never seen, but the cinematographer here is great. He's Ridley Scott's go-to guy nowadays, and so I am pretty excited to see this. My one concern with this movie, though, and it's a concern that a friend of mine also had, and we were kind of concerned that this movie was going to be too much action and not enough story, not enough characters. But then I realised that this movie is written by Taylor Sheridan. And obviously, if you've seen the first Sicario film, seen Hell or High Water and Wind River, then you know that Taylor Sheridan is pretty much immune to bad characters and immune to a bad story. So, Sicario 2 could be really great, and I'm hoping it will be, because I love all the people working on it. On to number 8. Deadpool 2. I think that for most people, Deadpool 2 is probably slightly weirdly low on my list. And that's because one of the things I love so much about Deadpool is the marketing campaign. And we've only seen 2 trailers. And I think that now it's getting closer and closer to release. The marketing campaign is definitely going to start kicking into gear now. Obviously, Ryan Reynolds is great, and we have David Leitch coming to direct, who's one of the co-directors of the first John Wick film. He directed Atomic Blonde, which I really liked. I know a lot of people didn't like that movie. But yeah, I think that the team both in front of and behind the camera look great. And of course, Josh Brolin is also in this film as Cable. Josh Brolin is in a ton of films in 2018. So yeah, on to number 7. Isle of Dogs is Wes Anderson's newest film. And I love Wes Anderson. And now he's going for another animated stop motion type film, kind of like Fantastic Mr. Fox, which is one of my favorite animated films of all time. I would say it's top 5. And if Isle of Dogs is half as good as Fantastic Mr. Fox is, then I think we have another classic on our hands here. The cast is amazing. I'm not going to tell you who it is because there are about 20 of the most famous actors in Hollywood right now. I don't remember them all, but I can remember Scarlett Johansson, Bill Murray, and other people, a lot of people. And obviously Wes Anderson is probably one of the most unique, if not the most unique filmmaker in Hollywood. I think that if someone were to ask me which filmmaker has the most unique visual style and the most iconic, I would definitely say Wes Anderson. I'm just really excited because every time Wes Anderson makes a film, it's always great. Next up, number 6. Yes, Black Panther. I think Black Panther is definitely on everyone's list right now. For good reason. I mean, it's Black Panther. If you saw him in Civil War, then you know just how great Chadwick Boseman is. And we have Ryan Coogler, one of the best directors right now, who obviously did Creed and Fruitvale Station. He's directing this movie, and the cast looks great. Some of the action scenes look great. It's so fun and so vibrant, and has a very sort of Thor Ragnarok type vibe to it, but it does look a little bit more serious, which is good. And wow, I'm just really, really excited. Again, Andy Serkis is in this movie. Michael B. Jordan is in this movie. Lupita Nyong'o is in this movie. It's just a great cast overall. The action scenes, again, look great. And of course, with the other MCU film coming out this year, I'm just so excited to see any and everything Marvel is doing. On to the next film. Now, from what I've heard, Annihilation has had a lot of trouble in terms of its production and release dates, because apparently what's going to happen is it's going to be released in America, and then 2 weeks later it's going to be released in Netflix and pretty much every other country, because apparently one of the producers thinks this movie isn't good. And that's kind of weird because this movie is written and directed by Alex Garland, who wrote and directed Ex Machina. He's also written films like 28 Days Later, Never Let Me Go, Sunshine. And to me, Alex Garland is to the sci-fi genre what David Fincher is to the serial killer genre. And I love Alex Garland. Ex Machina is one of my favorite films of 2015. And also just look at the cast. Natalie Portman, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Oscar Isaac. I'm just so excited for this film. And even if it isn't that good, it's still going to be one of the most visually impressive films of the year, just judging from the trailer. Annihilation is definitely up there for me. On to number 4. Yes, Ready Player One is a film that I'm very excited for simply because it is a Steven Spielberg film. Now, I feel like a lot of people nowadays think that Steven Spielberg has lost his touch or something like that. But even though films like the BFG or Bridge of Spies or Lincoln, even though those films haven't been as great as Jaws or Jurassic Park or E.T. or Raiders, they're still really, really great films. And Steven Spielberg, in my opinion, will always be one of the best filmmakers in Hollywood, no matter what he does. And now he's doing a movie about virtual reality gaming and has like all these different characters, like Joker and Harley Quinn are in there. There's that Overwatch person in there. There's like Mortal Kombat and the Iron Giant and all of these different pop culture references. The DeLorean from Back to the Future. If you love films or gaming or whatever, I think that you're going to be really excited for this movie just because it has pretty much every character and every sort of reference and Easter egg from any game or any movie you've ever watched, basically. And that's why I'm so excited for Ready Player One. On to number 3. Of course it's going to be on this list. The first Incredibles movie, I would probably say is in my top 3 favorite animated movies of all time. And I don't care how long it's been since we've had a Incredibles movie. Brad Bird is coming to direct. Pretty much all of the same cast have come back. And it's The Incredibles. That's all I need to say, really. Of course, we haven't seen much from it, but we don't need to. It's The Incredibles. Everyone who who had a childhood is going to go see this film. And that's why I'm so excited for it. On to number 2. Now, this is the only movie on this list that I don't have footage for, and that's First Man, which is Damien Chazelle's next movie. Those of you who have been watching this channel for a long time know that I worship Damien Chazelle. Whiplash and La La Land are two of my favorite movies of all time. He is now teaming up again with my boy Ryan Gosling, and the rest of the cast looks great as well. But this is a film about Neil Armstrong and the first landing on the moon, I believe. And this is Damien Chazelle, so instead of writing his own film, he's sort of doing a based on a true story film. And this could go two ways. It could either be kind of boring and dull, or we could have another Social Network on our hands here, people. We really could. And that gets me really excited. The only reason this isn't number 1 is because we've heard nothing about this movie. We've seen nothing from this movie. Hopefully I'll get to watch this movie before the end of 2018, because these awardsy films tend to have weird release dates. But hopefully I get to see First Man as soon as possible, really. But yeah, on to number 1, which is pretty obvious, and that film is... Of course, Avengers Infinity War is everyone's most anticipated film of 2018, I think. It's Avengers Infinity War. It's probably the biggest superhero film of all time. Probably the biggest movie of all time. I mean, just look at the cast, look at the budget. I mean... It's Avengers Infinity War. You literally have the original Avengers, plus Spider-Man, plus Guardians, plus Doctor Strange, plus Black Panther. I mean, what else do you want? As for who I'm most excited to see, I would say Thor and Cap. Those are the two I'm most excited to see. I'm curious, though, what the tone is going to be like, because you obviously have characters like Thor here who have been reinvented, and you have the Guardians and Spider-Man. But this is a film that's directed by the Russo brothers, who are sort of known for having a more serious take on characters and making characters more sort of badass. So I'm very curious as to what the tone is going to be like, because we could have a bit of conflicting tone here, but hopefully this is as great as everyone thinks it is. Hopefully it's as great as I think it is, as great as it looks. And that is my top 10 most anticipated films for this year, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I'm beyond excited for this year in films. Thank you.